Mark Youngworth here for We Are Change Oshkosh. Recently, the Madison, Wisconsin chapter of We Are Change put together a Midwest tour for architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. The head of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, Richard Gage, was set up with many speaking engagements all across the Midwest. So I decided to go to the Madison event and ask Mr. Gage about some photos I've recently come across that seem to be key pieces of information that is very little talked about in the 9/11 Truth community, and is information that I have never heard Mr. Gage speak of, and I needed to know, has he seen this information and what does he think of it? Mr. Gage was clearly very uncomfortable with the photos that I presented him with and the questions that I was asking. Does he have something to hide? Check out the video and then you decide. Mark Youngworth for We Are Change Oshkosh here with Mr. Richard Gage from Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. There are some pictures that I have seen, I've never seen them up until recently actually, regarding 9/11 and the building collapses that I totally haven't seen. Like I said, up until recently. So I wanted to show you the pictures and see what you said about them, basically, because these are pictures that I don't know.
They're really creepy.
Yeah, let's see. What?
They're creepy, I thought.
Like, okay, obviously we know where the towers were, and they're these buildings that are adjacent to the towers have all these holes in them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously, I'm totally not even disputing that thermite was used on 9/11. Obviously, that's a fact. But, my questions are, why would these buildings be damaged? What would cause those holes?
That one and that one?
Yeah, like that. Like, these gigantic...
I got a theory about that. Maybe they were supposed to be demolished as well, and they only got partially demolished. Like a set of explosives went off here, and here. I mean, that's one possible theory.
Mr. Gage, do you really want me to believe that the people that carried out 9/11 were able to make the Twin Towers disappear like this?
Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke.
And they were able to make Building 7 disappear like this.
Gone, man.
However, they were not able to make the other buildings with gigantic holes in them that looked like they were cut by a cookie cutter or a laser beam, possibly. They just couldn't get those buildings to go away properly. Yeah, if that's a possible theory, then I'm possibly Samuel L. Jackson.
Maybe massive amounts of debris struck those particular areas and did damage. I don't know. I mean, I can't see what's down in there.
Right.
I don't think there were space rays that cut holes in those buildings.
Alright, I'm definitely not sure about space rays, but all I know is it doesn't appear to be thermite, and has anybody, because we know that Jeanette McKinley has the samples from the towers, from the dust. Has anybody ever tested, these buildings specifically for thermite or anything of the sort to see?
I don't know. Somebody saw molten metal in Building 6, I believe. That's one of the quotes in the PowerPoint.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, totally.
Building 6. Which I think is this building.
Okay. So somebody saw molten metal in Building 6. Okay. So I mean that could suggest thermite, certainly.
That's a testimony to the 9/11 Commission, I believe, too.
Let's see. Oh, that's kind of just a different angle. And could thermite do that?
I don't know.
Gage, you just talked about thermite for 2 hours. How can you possibly not know if thermite could do that or not? Could thermite do that?
I don't know. If it were placed in all the beams in that particular area, I imagine it could.
There's a hole
But
right
why not?
there.
But why not the whole? Like, I mean, building 7 clearly gone. The tower is clearly gone. These buildings, standing with weird cookie cutter holes in them.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I agree with you.
That's just more like the same kind of stuff. There's like climbing into the building, and then the cars. The cars are
Richard Gage.
something else that I.
Kareem?
Kareem.
Kareem?
Kevin's son.
You're Kevin's son?
Yeah.
Fatma?
Fatma.
Fatma.
Yeah.
You're her son.
No. What goes on here is outstandingly suspicious and weird. Kareem Barrett, Professor Kevin Barrett's son, comes over and interrupts my interview with Richard Gage. Kevin Barrett is another outspoken member of 9/11 Truth who's a former professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison who allegedly lost his tenure for standing up for the issue of 9/11 Truth. The problem I have with Mr. Barrett is that he does not seem to want to go into certain issues. As well, I know that Kevin Barrett, as I have met him in the past, has raised his son to be more respectful and courteous than to interrupt an on-camera interview. Also, Mr. Barrett's son is 14, 15, 16 years oldish. He certainly should be old enough and certainly was raised well enough to be respectful and to wait his turn to speak to somebody, especially when there's an on-camera interview running. My only conclusion on this matter can be that Mr. Barrett, who was within earshot of my conversation with Mr. Richard Gage, purposely sent his son over to interrupt and run interference on my interview. This, of course, being done because of the kind of information that I was bringing up. No, like, okay, the car is roasted, but the flag is fine.
Well, the flag came later. The flag was posted by somebody after the event. I mean, there weren't flags hanging around.
I have to check on when this
But
photo
the
was.
cars are destroyed,
Yeah, oh,
toasted.
yeah,
No, I
totally.
completely agree.
And I know
A lot of
some of the cars.
Rubber's melted.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff happening.
And some of the
it's not
photos were
just
taken,
molten.
I'm pretty sure, the day of. Or weren't they? Weren't some of these
Maybe.
taken the day of? I'm
I
pretty
would
sure.
imagine
I have to
that
check.
that would be the case. Yeah. No, I don't have an explanation for that car.
Okay.
You know, I don't know what happened to it. Assuming it was here, you can see that it sustained incredible heat. Now, some of these cars, this toasted, where they're not so warped, that would be explained, I would think, by falling molten iron droplets, which is what you have.
Right.
That could be
But
responsible.
this is blocks away.
Why did you do that for?
Well, like most of the photos of the cars, these cars are blocks away from ground zero.
Yeah.
These are like, that's all warped and ridiculous. Like,
Yeah,
what?
Thermite's not going to be doing that.
Right. And I mean, that's, you know, like, that's what I figured.
That's weird.
So I'm like, you know, I didn't know if you guys have seen this stuff.
No.
But like in
I'm
this,
not going
okay,
to
like
speculate about it.
paper,
I'm
like,
No,
this is
Deezer,
all,
shut
this
up.
is just burning and like destructive, but like the paper is just kicking it.
Yeah.
It's just burning and like destructive, but like the paper is just kicking it.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it's weird.
Yeah.
more destroyed cars.
Yeah.
Like that one, like half of it's toasted and the other half is perfectly fine. And like on one of them, it was like, you know, a distance from wheel to wheel. One wheel was destroyed to the point where it was like basically gone, and the back wheel was still there, and the tire was inflated, like full inflated tire. The other tire is like gone, and there's nothing but, you know, so it's like,
Just like this one and this one.
yeah. I mean, I can't quite see the tires on that picture, but yeah, it's like,
I can see it.
yeah.
No, it's weird. I'm with you.
So
There's a lot of strange phenomena going on.
a lot of it.
Now, so,
I guess I was just.
but how are you going to sound if you go out on the street and show people these pictures and say, what's going on? I mean, how you can't get people motivated to take action by showing them questions for which you have no answers.
Questions for which there are no answers? Richard, go to drjudywood.com. There are plenty of scientific answers there. Plenty.
I'm showing questions for which we have lots of very clear, solid, evidentiary, scientific, forensic-based answers. And they can move with it and put people away for a long time for treason for it.
Richard, as you must know, thermite alone absolutely does not go to explain everything that happened on 9/11 that day and the destructions of those buildings. As well, when we try these culprits, when we try the perpetrators that pulled off 9/11, we only have one shot, so we better get it right. We better make sure that we know how they did it. Because if we go to court with just thermite, and they can prove that thermite doesn't explain everything, then we don't have a case. And speaking of cases, Richard, why is it that Dr. Judy Wood filed a case about 9/11 in 2007? You, on the other hand, to my knowledge, have 0 cases filed. And as previously stated, hypothetically, even if you do have a case filed, Mr. Gage, clearly thermite cannot explain all of the things that happened that day regarding the destruction of those buildings.
I'm showing questions for which we have lots of very clear, solid, evidentiary, scientific, forensic-based answers. And they can move with it and put people away for a long time for treason for it. So that's why I show that stuff instead of this stuff.
Okay, so you've seen these before, you haven't seen these before then?
I've seen them.
Okay. Yeah. But that's not what you said earlier, Richard. I didn't know if you guys have seen this stuff.
No.
You've seen these before, you haven't seen these before then?
I've seen them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, but I mean, like, you just, since it's not your, area of expertise, you're like, I just don't know what I'm going to do about it. Yeah. Right.
My speculation doesn't do anybody any good.
Right. No, I got you. I mean, like, and it totally makes sense. Yeah. I just remembered what I didn't see in the presentation, and maybe it was the difference between the 60 and hour and a half, but it was when they showed the disintegration they used the building model, and you were talking about, like, even their attempts at fraud were nonsense, because the building, the way it collapsed, it kind of turned into, like, a weird spire, and then it just, like, they cut it off right there when it started to tip over. Yeah. I don't remember seeing that in the one that I saw, so I'm not sure, like, what, if that's only in the hour and a half edition or if that's a 60-minute, but that was new to me. I was like, I haven't seen this before. I thought actually that was really interesting.
Huh.
So.
Yeah, that wasn't in the 2 hour. That was new. I should probably make a list of those things I've added since then. But I haven't done it, so then I forget what's new.
Right. All right. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to ask you while you're here. Oh, that's right. Okay. Now, I haven't, admittedly, I haven't looked over this information as thoroughly as I obviously have to. So I'm by no means am I willing to say, like, I support this work. This is information that, I've been turned on to and I've seen, and so now I have to get to the bottom of this. But I was told that these photos are the work of a person named Dr. Judy Wood. And I'm not sure what her credentials are. I'm not sure what her expertise is. I obviously know you're well accredited in your field. I know what you do, and I'm not by any means questioning your credibility. Just want you to know that that's not the deal. But I don't know, a lot about her credibility. Obviously, I'm gonna have to look into all this. But I guess, have you heard of her? Because from what I understand, she's actually been involved in 9/11 Truth for a while. Do you know anything about her information?
I know she's documented a lot of this kind of phenomena. Okay. I know she's a mechanical engineer. I know she teaches or she taught. Okay. I know she's written a book. And I know she, for whatever reason, denies that there's molten metal. She denies that there's nanothermite, thermite.
She's a space being theorist. So she doesn't think there's any explosives.
Excuse me. She speculates that there is directed energy weapons, and there may or may not be, I don't know. So she's basically attacking our work for some reason, which seems very solid to me and to thousands of other people.
I have a question. Do you think it's a combination of both?
I don't. There's some strange phenomena here for which I don't have answers for.
Okay, I
I'm
understand.
not going to speculate as to what might have caused this. I mean, we're talking about technologies that we know nothing about. That
Tell me
Judy
about
Woods
it.
knows not much about. So I appreciate that she's trying to come up with answers to questions that are raised by this phenomenon. But I don't know why she's attacking very solid scientific evidence of thermite, nanothermite, molten metal, and she says that the steel beams were turned. She says that the steel beams were turned to dust, and I don't see the evidence for that.
Good Lord. There are no words. You can see large pieces of the building falling. You can see the smoke rising. You can see a portion of the side of the building now just being covered on the right side as I look at it, covered in smoke.
Right, okay. So wait,
I didn't see it either.
It actually says that there was no thermite? Is that right?
Yeah, she denies the theory of thermite and nanothermite.
But it was found in the dust.
She's attacked Stephen Jones and myself.
Interesting. That's weird. I'm definitely gonna have to look into that more. Cause like I said, I mean, like, I definitely want to find an answer. Like, cause nobody thermited the cars, obviously. Like, there's got to be something else going on. I'd love to find out what it is. But like I said, I totally don't have enough to back up our work or anything. But I definitely thought I should ask you about it because this is from what I've been put. You know what I mean? Like, I've never really found much information on this type of stuff. So I figured if there'd be somebody to ask, you've been dealing with 9/11 for years. So, but that's cool. I'll certainly take what you said, under consideration and check out her stuff and, look at, now I'm interested to see, what kind of, interaction, you should.
No, and I haven't tried to contact her either. I don't contact people who are attacking.
Right. So I was just wondering if maybe there was, anything that led to that, or if it was just, out
No,
the gate,
not that I'm aware of. I mean, I've never really attacked her, so
Okay.
I just question her speculation. I mean, that's fine to speculate.
Right.
It's just not something that is helpful, I think, in presenting the American people with the evidence that 9/11 was something else than what we were told it was. I think we should give the most solid evidence that we have. And toasted cars and partially destroyed buildings are questions that don't have clear answers,
Right.
Or may not have clear answers.
Mm-hmm. You're willing to admit that there's other strange phenomena going on with 9/11, so, I mean, based on that, would you agree that it's definitely of interest and value to the public to find out if there were other things going on that day, what they were, and how they happened?
Not as a first priority. The first priority would be to present what we know.
Right.
So
obviously.
what we can prove so that we can get some action in the way of an investigation by people who will respond, hopefully, to forensic science-based evidence.
The problem with this is that, Richard, your supposedly scientific forensic-based evidence does not go to explain all of the damage and destruction on 9/11. It does not explain all the damage to the Twin Towers, and it certainly does not explain the damage to the other buildings adjacent to the towers and the cars blocks away. We have caught Richard Gage in multiple out-and-out lies. We have caught Mr. Gage blatantly trying to divert researchers away from Dr. Judy Wood's information and research. So now, You have to ask yourself, why is Richard Gage allowed on mainstream television to talk about 9/11 truth? Why is it that you've probably never heard of Dr. Judy Wood or her information? Is Richard Gage a gatekeeper of 9/11 truth information? I highly suggest you go to drjudywood.com and figure it out for yourself.